Hey, everybody, my name is Andrew Davis, and you're watching Conversations in Pop Culture. And yes, I am hard to kill. And before I continue, I do want to let everybody know that this episode is sponsored by my good friends over at Pocket Jack Comics, who have amazing comics like Palace of the Golden Princess and White Lily. You can go check them out on pocketjackcomics.com. But enough about that, because I have with me Rob Multari, who pretty much does a lot of stuff: Nightwolf, Snowpaw. He's got a very cool project up on BackerKit dealing with wolf pups and plushies and some other cool stuff. So obviously, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you for having me again.
Now, I'm always happy to have you on, and obviously, there's a lot going on. But before we get into your project on BackerKit, which is a little bit different than Kickstarter, I want to make that crystal clear. I do want to say it's a BackerKit project.
Yes.
But obviously, who are you, and why don't you introduce who you are? Because there's people who know who you are, there's people who do not know who you are, there's people who know Nightwolf, Snowpaw, everything that you've done with the wolf pups, but there's people saying, I don't remember who you are, or who are you, because people are coming in and out of comics all the time now.
Right on. Fair enough. Yeah, so I'm Rob Multari. I'm the creator and writer of Nightwolf and Snowpaw comic series through my imprint, Lone Wolf Comics. I also have a kids book called Wolfpack Pups Halloween Trick or Treat Tale. It's basically Muppet Baby Eyes versions of my characters, and for the kids to get into. And I also have plushies that go along with the book. So this guy's already made, and then this is who we're funding for Snowpaw for this backer kit. So you can get them all together with the book through this campaign.
Yeah, so let's talk about that a little bit, because obviously kids' books and kids' comics, kids' picture books is tough on crowdfunding.
It is. It is. Most people who are on crowdfunding tend to be buying for themselves. And most parents who are buying for their kids are usually doing it on the fly for that immediate gratification. How are they going to say, hey, I bought this for you, and you're not going to get it for like 6 months?
So, because obviously Wolf Pups is for kids, doesn't mean that an adult can't enjoy it. Exactly. But it's obviously a kid's book, right?
Yeah, so the book itself is, it's a kids' board book. It's great for kids learning to read. It's great for parents who are reading to their kids at night. The plushies that go along with it, you have your plushie collectors, or people who just like to have snuggle buddies, or you have the for the kids as well. It's mixed bag. We got something for everybody in this campaign. We also have Nightwolf comic books. We also have Snowpaw comic books. So we have something for everybody in this campaign. So if you're not interested in the plushies, you're not interested in the kids' books, we got comics, we got graphic novels, all of that for you.
So yeah, so let's actually talk about that, though, because obviously we spoke about the kids' book and we spoke about Nightwolf and Snowpaw indefinitely, because I've been interviewing you for at least 4 or 5 times before this. But I do want to talk about the plushie stuff, because that's also, I think, a tough market, because obviously Tom Hutchinson did an action figure, and that's complicated when you do stuff like that and you start going to what I call comic book adjacent, right? And you start taking your character, you make an action figure, or you make a cardboard stand, or you make, I don't know, like a vinyl, like 7x9 vinyl of your characters, and you start building out product lines for that, and then you go into a plushie. That's a whole different ballgame, because at that point you're now having to actually conceptualize something that is a stuffed animal, for lack of a better word. Like, I don't know how to explain that any other way. And so it becomes a much more, I guess, complicated engineering feat. It's also a production feat to some degree. And so what has this been like? Because you need to come up with a concept. You have to be kind of crazy to do it a little bit, to say this can actually work and we're going to go fund it. And then you got to build the design for it, and then you got to produce it.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's kind of the same concept as doing an action figure or a 3D model print. You have to have like the model to work with. You have to have, in this case, you have to have like the color swatches, for like the different, kind of patchwork. So you send in like the different kind of like the turnaround drawing designs. So my Wolfpack Pups illustrator, Megan Alford, she's the one who came up with the original character design. So we used those designs as the basis. And then, I worked with the manufacturer, and some of them took a little bit longer. So like, the original, the Voodoo doll, he came out 100% great. Like I had no changes to him. It was an instant, knock out of the park. For the Nightwolf plush, he had a few tweaks, mostly just kind of like sizing and things like that. A couple of different things with like his, the different gradient on him. And then, but Snowpaw, I think we had to do a little bit more on her, just to kind of get her right with, with the hair, the bow and stuff like that. So once you kind of like get the regular, the actual prototype done, I find like that the plushie process isn't as tough or as expensive to do as, let's say, if I were to take, one of these like 3D models, scale it up to like an action figure and actually turn it into an action figure. Then you have to get molds, because you can't just 3D print, a full-fledged action figure line, because, you have to have it takes longer to 3D print something than it does like to actually have like molds. So the molds are what cost, like with Tom, his critter, that campaign was like what, 30,000, I want to say, somewhere around there. But that was because he was paying for the molds to have, a minimum of, I think, 1,000 action figures made.
Yeah, so let's actually talk about the production, because obviously, I mean, you're not paying for a mold, but you're still doing design work. You still have to deal with prototypes. You still have to deal with creation. You still have to deal with a lot of other things with it, and you're producing an actual product.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then you're also, and it's different than a comic, because obviously with Nightwolf and Snowpaw, you're creating an IP, and at this point, I mean, not that a plushie is not the same as an IP in many ways. I mean, it's an IP adjacent.
It's a merch from it.
I mean, it's merchandise. It's essentially a license from it, but you're also having costs to put into it and all sorts of stuff. And like, it's kind of crazy, because I don't know how well plushies do. And also it's kind of crazy because people like plushies, but they also might not like plushies. And it's a whole new space.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's just it. It's, a lot of, like, I would say, if you take in consideration the amount of backers that I've had for my comic books, it's probably a drop in the bucket for the people who are coming for the plushies. So they're the ones who really are like the diehards, or the people who just like the plushies or think they cute or whatever. They sell very well at comic conventions. Because, there, usually you have the people coming and getting the books. But then like the families just kind of pass you by usually. But when they see the plushies there, the kids' book, that's when they come over. And so I actually now have something for everybody.
So let's actually talk about that too, because that's interesting to me, is that, and this is how I run my business, is that I want to sell high-end merchandise and a $500 card, but I also want an $8 card in my store, because I want to hit both ends of the spectrum, because not everybody wants to spend $500 on a Aaron Rodgers card. That may or may not be a good example, because his last season as a Jet was not great. But not the point here. But not everybody wants to spend $500 on a card. But I think if somebody wants a card, I think $8 is not outrageous, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's the same thing where, if I take my niece, who's like 3 now, to a comic convention, I'm not going to go give her a copy of Nightwolf for 2 reasons. A, she's learning how to read, so she might not understand it. And B, I don't think it's age appropriate for her. But a plushie, it's just a stuffed animal, right? And so what is that like? Because it can do well, and it does well at a con, but it's also the idea that, well, you got to crowdfund it, or you got to fund it yourself. And I think that's where this gets tricky, is that, and I think this is a problem in comics in general, is that you might have a book that will do well at a convention, but you got to get it to the convention stage. If that makes any sense.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, it's, and you could even tell, like, when you see the numbers. I mean, right now, like, if I were running like a Nightwolf or a Snowpaw Kickstarter, I'd be probably almost, if not over 5,000 by now, close to like 6 or 7. For the plushies and the kids stuff, with the kids book, it's, I have to go lower, for the campaigns, and because it doesn't get as many backers, and it's so it's kind of like relative in a sense. Like, I know, like right now I'm kind of just going for the bare minimum. I have to have like 300 minimum made for like the Snowpaw plush. So that's the funding goal right there. Right. And then the way Backer Kit is that it doesn't have the shipping in it yet. That comes in the fulfillment side of things, which is different than Kickstarter, because you could have the shipping included in the Kickstarter. So that'll basically the shipping will be covered later during the fulfillment survey. So this 4,000 is basically just production costs for the plush.
See, that's interesting. Again, I've never backed anything on Backer Kit. Backer Kit is just new to me. Again, I tend to play in Kickstarter. I've done Indiegogo. I haven't done Fund My Comic yet. And so I find it interesting because I don't know anything about Backer Kit and how they do anything of that nature. But again, I'm not anti-crowdfunding. It's just that it's never occurred. I'm also taking a break from crowdfunders in general. Just because it's January and I'm a little exhausted from people's books. And I don't know, like, it sounds mean and it sounds rude, but like I'm exhausted from backing stuff, and I have so much stuff to read that it's just like I have packages that I haven't even opened yet.
I'm right there with you.
So like there gets a point where I got to be an adult, right? And also it's tax season, so that doesn't help either. But all everything beyond that beside, I mean, what is that like to be on Backer Kit? Because it is a crowdfunder. It operates, I think, similar to Kickstarter, but there's also, as you stated, different components of it where shipping isn't calculated yet.
Yeah.
It's all this. And then I don't know what the media drive looks like, and I don't know what the breakdown of that looks like, and I don't know what the trust component of that looks like. Because when I'm on Kickstarter, there's an element of trust, and there's an element of saying, cool, this is a safe platform, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. I mean, I think so with Backer Kit, as far as like safety and trust, I mean, people use them for the Backer Kit reward surveys for Kickstarter and Indiegogo, right? So they already have their credit card information if they're adding add-ons. So I think that's already something that, like, a lot of my backers already know Backer Kit surveys, so therefore they technically already have an account. But for people who are only used to like Kickstarters, who only fulfill through Kickstarter, they might be a little bit more concerned. But again, I think a lot of it is, just it's a very similar platform, but it does have its nuances. It has your pledge levels that you can get, like, you can either get just the plush, or you can get the plush and the book, or you can get all the plushies, or you can get all the stuff together, like the pledge levels, like we do with Kickstarter. I mean, I set up my layout of the story page very similar to what my Kickstarter page would look like. It has a video. It has add-ons. It just looks a little like, honestly, though, I think the add-ons are a lot nicer in Backer Kit than they are in Kickstarter, the way they have them set up. You can actually like see them and look at them and a little bit easier than that like forever scroll that Kickstarter has. If you know what I'm talking about. So honestly, I think it's a nice product. I mean, I have no complaints about it whatsoever, except for the shipping. I kind of wish that they would either do the shipping weight-based the way they do in the fulfillment side, like they do, just do it all at once, or wait until like charge the shipping during the or maybe not charge the shipping, but charge it, like at the end of the campaign when everybody's cards get charged for the campaign. They do that and then they get charged again for the shipping. So that's something that I think they should either do it where they're charging everything all at once at the end during the fulfillment, or they do it in the, all together, during the actual campaign. Because I feel like if they already figured out the weight based situation in the fulfillment survey, I don't know why they just didn't integrate that into the crowdfund. Because you could easily put those weight based information way in advance.
Oh, again. I don't really know how to respond to that because I don't have this problem, right? And I have never had this problem. Obviously, on eBay, the shipping is when I saw on eBay, it's already done, right?
Right, exactly. It's there. It's included when you set it up, right? So every other shipping, every other website, like every other sales platform except for crowdfunding has this figured out.
Again. I want to know as a buyer, and I'll be very honest, what I'm going to pay for shipping, right? I just want to know it because I don't like surprises, right? I mean, I don't know about anybody else, but I have a budget when I back a campaign, and I like to know what the hell I'm going to be spending on, right? And I don't want to be surprised, and I hate when there's like a surprise charge of like $11. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like,
and for me, like, it's going to be similar to what I've done. Like most of my backers, when they come in, they kind of, it's usually like $5 or $6 to like for me to ship one of these, right? So that's typically what it's going to be. Like, get all of them, and then it's probably going to bump it up to like almost 10. That's so really they're probably, if they get the big package, that the probably, unless they're international, then obviously then we're talking different numbers here, but from like a the domestic shipping, the most they're probably going to pay is like 15 to 20, depending on if they get the big everything, because then you get all the comics and the the graphic novels, and that has weight to it, right? But short of that, like, that they're not going to be paying much for shipping as far as like, but then, when you look at like going European, right? If you're shipping to Europe, that's like, to mail one of these is like $27, so that's a whole different ball game.
So no, because I find this interesting, and then to even go further about the backer kit. So obviously, Kickstarter has traffic on its website. Whether that traffic goes to your campaign or it doesn't is a debatable discussion. Obviously, everybody has a different opinion or different experiences on Kickstarter. But as a website, I think it's fair to say that Kickstarter generates traffic. And I don't know what backer kit does on that level, or if it even matters, because I know a bunch of people who do their crowdfundings. They don't really get much traffic directly from Kickstarter, but they're driving like 80% of the traffic to their campaign.
Right.
So that's a big issue too. And again, I don't know exactly what that looks like on backer kit, but also if you have a fan base, your fan base is going to find you regardless of where you're at. I mean, that's the other thing too. It's like, we'll use Monday Night Raw as an example. It doesn't matter that Monday Night Raw is on Netflix. The fan base is going to follow WWE.
Yeah, they're going to find out where it is. Yeah.
And they're going to go and figure it out, right? Some people will drop off, just naturally if you move from A to B to C. But the majority of your herd, if you've built a strong enough herd, will follow you.
Yeah, I think so. I think for the most part, if they want what you're doing and they're following you and they trust you, they're going to go where you're at. For the most part, I mean, I can't imagine that it's 100%, but I can't imagine it'd be less than 50% people coming. Again, I think it's like I said, it's a new platform, but a lot of people who've been with me know the platform because of the fulfillment side. And it's like I said, the shipping I think is probably the one thing that might be like the weird thing. But as far as like bringing traffic in itself, I think that's why they run these events. So if you actually like we're looking at like the backer kit page, it has that Pintopia thing at the like right below my video. It has like a ticker of how many projects are in the Pintopia. I think there's 177.
Yeah, let's talk about that too, because backer kit has run other things too. They've done stuff for horror, I think. And so what is that like too? Because obviously if you're a part of that, whether it's 20 projects or 175 or 50 or whatever it is. Obviously, cross promotion is a big thing. Events are a big thing, but I don't really get it because again, I'm not on backer kit and I'm taking a break from just backing collectively. But what is that like? Because there's some promotion going on, and obviously the idea behind it is that they want people to back as many projects as possible and not just yours.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. I mean, obviously they make their money based on successful campaigns, right? So this is their way of getting as many campaigns funded. They're helping to promote it. The people who are collaborating with each other are collaborating, and then like in general, like there's a way that there's tags that like they're similar projects. So like if you click the tag, you can see all the projects in this like bucket list. So there's a way for them to share and show how many campaigns are similar or have similar interests, which is kind of nice. It's
So let me ask you this, because I've heard both sides of this, where obviously collaborations can be very productive and very helpful, but there's also been issues where people have said, look, person has X amount of money, and that if you're promoting 5 of the same project, it's either first person they see, and then, or sometimes, you got to pick and choose where you're at. So I've seen it both ways. And I've heard people have various opinions on this. And, obviously, if everything is free, it's just a matter of time. But I'll be real honest, too. I mean, if there's 4 podcasts that are doing similar interviews and somebody only has an hour, they got to pick one, and it's not because the others are shitty. It's just that you pick X. And so, I mean, I'm curious how you feel about that, because I've heard both sides of it, where I've heard people say, I was in collaboration or part of an event and I did really well. And then I've also heard people say that it was a disaster and that it didn't help me one damn bit. And so, like, what is that like for you? Because I think it's tricky when we're in this circumstance, because again, the whole comic industry is all fucked up anyway right now.
Yeah, I think if you do it right, like, for me, I have 2 projects that I'm working with. One is the C is for Cthulhu, and the other one is a magic pins. Let me get to it. I can exactly remember the name. It's a really long one. Where are you? All right. So the other one is the Magic and Mischief Adopt a Phoenix Pintopia campaign. So basically, those 2 campaigns that I'm working with, if you back me and the Cthulhu one, you will get a special pin from me that has Nightwolf with a Cthulhu plush on his shoulders. And then if you back the series for Cthulhu as well, you will get Cthulhu holding a Nightwolf plush pin. So you get those cute little pins for backing both campaigns. If you don't back, you don't get either campaign. If one doesn't fund, you don't get either campaign. So the incentive there is to kind of like, okay, well, for these 2 pins that you get to actually make it, both campaigns have to be funded. Then you get them, but only if you backed both campaigns. Same with the other one that I'm doing. We're doing their phoenixes or their pins. So they did a moon phoenix that one, they're giving one where Snowpaw is hugging the phoenix, and I'm giving one where Snowpaw is riding the phoenix. So same difference. If you don't back both, you don't get the pins, and if one doesn't succeed, you don't get any pins from that collaboration. So you're basically getting these exclusive items that are worth $10 a piece to back these campaigns, and you're only ever going to get them for this event. They're never going to be available anywhere else any other time. Like, so I won't ever sell them, and neither will the other campaigns.
No, I mean, I get it, but I've heard people say, look, people have backed my things, but like, somebody backed that campaign at 300 backers and I only got 100 backers. And so like, again, I've just heard horror stories of
Well, it depends on the interest. Like, so, all right, look at it this way. when you have a superhero comic book and a horror comic book, and you only have people who are interested in one or the other, they're typically not going to cross over, right? Unless you're a fan of both. So you want to kind of cross over with similar interests so that people are like, oh, yes, I have to have both of these. You know what I mean? Like that makes a more stronger collaboration. Typically you're going to, obviously my fan base is going to more, go to my stuff, and the C is for Cthulhu fan base is going to go to their stuff, but there is a little bit of like crossover in that, they're cute, cuddly monsters. That's.
So do you also feel, though, that obviously you're part of this Pintopia thing, or Pinotopia? I'm not exactly sure how it's pronounced because it's spelled one way, that it's maybe pronounced another way, but you're also doing individual collaborations too, because my understanding is that in this event run by BackerKit, there's some incentives as well beyond just what you're doing. And there's also different levels of collaborations too, meaning that if BackerKit is running something overall, that's also very different than if, you're doing something with C is for Cthulhu, because that's also a big difference too, because I don't know how active BackerKit is pushing your project at the moment versus C for Cthulhu might be pushing it a little bit harder. If that makes any sense.
I'm sure it has something to do with the algorithm. Like, it probably looks at the count, the backer, how fast that they're going compared to the other. I'm sure that the top ones they're probably hitting the most. I would imagine, like, if they're already funded, if they're trying to get everybody 100% funded, that I'm sure eventually down the line they'll probably promote the other ones to push across the finish line too, because they'll probably want to quote, oh, we got 100% funded campaigns.
because is BackerKit all or nothing?
Yes.
So it's not like Indiegogo where somebody funds half, Well,
Indiegogo gives you the option to be all or nothing, or to get what you get. Whereas like BackerKit and Kickstarter are in the same mind that if you don't fund, you don't get.
Again, I don't know anything about BackerKit. So again, I'm not on BackerKit. I don't, whether I come or I don't come to BackerKit is up in the air. I'm not anti-BackerKit. I'm just not there, and I don't know anything about it. So that's why I ask these questions. Because
no worries. Yeah, that's what we're here to explain.
Yeah. Again, I have no desire to produce a comic at the moment. I want to make that crystal clear. I got more than enough stresses, and I don't need a comic book as one of my stresses. There are plenty of other things that I could do that could just get me right next to everybody's level right there. I would prefer to sleep. My little remaining peaceful sleep that I have, I would prefer to keep. But all jokes aside, what is, obviously, I mean, where are you actually at in your campaign?
So it just started at 1:00 today, EST. And we're up to 1,687 with 39 backers. So I'd say we're having a pretty good day in day one for their plushie anyway. on a totally new platform.
So, and the reason why I ask it the way I ask it is that obviously you mentioned before that if this was a comic, you would be much further along, and a plushie is a very different entity. And it targets a much larger net than a comic. It also doesn't have the adult side to it. I mean, Nightwolf is not a kid's book, to say the least. I'm sorry. It's the only way I could say it, the most polite way I could say it. And so, I mean, obviously, what is that like, though? Because this is something that I think is interesting in that regard, is that what is this like for you? Because, again, you're testing a market, especially in January.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say like this time of year really makes that big a difference, because the Voodoo Doll plush came out in February. So that was when I launched that one. It was successful, but I also had a comic book element along with it, which I think also helped. But then when I came out with the Wolfpack Pups book, That I did in August, but the book didn't actually come out until after Halloween, which, timing wise, because overseas printing just didn't work out as well as I wanted to. So then I tried doing the Nightwolf plush in July, thinking that it would get in before Halloween. It happened to be the month later. So now I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to do it now while I have this Pintopia plushies event, since it's plushie focused. And then we'll have, the Snowpaw, plush in well before Halloween. And then we can do a one big push, up through Halloween season with all these things that'll be in stock.
So what is that like? 'Cause that's also a big issue. And I've learned that the hard way in my business, is that sometimes you don't have items in stock and it's not easy. It's not easy where I sell a lot of stuff that they put bases of like baseball bases in cards, and those take anywhere from 120 to 200 days. And yet, you have a client waiting, and then they have a wait time, and then some clients can't take it and they don't understand. And it's really fuckery to fuck up your business when things get all delayed at that level, because you can't really, I don't know how to, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily unethical, because sometimes shit happens, but I also think that it's like, it can fuck up your business really nicely, really quickly, if you don't have things that are out of your control. And I don't know how you feel about waiting for things, but after a while, when I'm waiting 200 days for something, I get a little antsy.
I think at this point, I've backed so many campaigns that like I don't even know what all's here and what's not, or half the time I forget what I even backed. So when I get something in the mail, I'm like, "Ooh, what's this?" I'm not watching. I think, too, a lot of people who back regularly on these crowdfund campaigns, especially Kickstarter or BackerKit, they're used to the wait. Not obviously not like years, like that gets to be ridiculous, but like, when it comes like between like 3 to 6 months for like, something to come out, I think they're kind of used to that at that point.
I don't know, which that, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, because I just had a bad experience with a company that had a lot of my money, and that it got resolved. But like, they were a year out, and then some other stuff, and then it was just on their store. And so maybe I'm raw from this, but like, I can't wait anymore 6 months. I just can't.
Yeah, I think if it's on the store, that's kind of a slap in the face. I always wait until the books are in hand and at the backers' houses before I put it on my website.
I just went through something very complicated, very not good. And so I'm raw from it. And this is also why I'm holding off. I've also been screwed by a bunch of campaigns, in the last 6 months. And so I am raw from certain things, right? And so that's where I'm at, right? I'm also dealing with a lot of things now, not being late by 6 months, but by being late by 9 months and 12 months. And there's just a bunch of issues. So I am maybe in a different environment, and that's why I'm pulling back. And I don't think I'm the only one. I don't. In which that I can't be the sole survivor here on this, but like I think it's a problem for
Well, I
me.
think that's too, like, when you look at like track records, right? So I've done like 15 Kickstarters, and I've fulfilled all but the one that I'm about to, like, that the books just came in and I'm about to start fulfilling that.
See, I'm going to challenge, because there's been a bunch of people who have supposedly good track records to high numbers, and they're late. And they're not late by a month, but they're late by 3, 4, 5 months. And so, and we're talking about, hey, you said the book funded in February. You said the book was going to be here by July, and the book has me to December.
Yeah.
That's not it got here by August.
No, yeah, that's some, like, again, I think it depends on track record. Like, where you have people who like that, you kind of are like, okay, well, I'm probably not going to back you again. But then the people who have a track record of, you can actually see that too in the updates. Like for me, like I update very regularly each step of the way. And, matter of fact, I owe an update tomorrow saying, hey, I'm getting set up for fulfillment, so like that's you can see that, and then that's the track record. You could see what on past campaigns.
What it is that there's people who've had great track records and then they've had bad experiences on a few books, and I'm like, I backed you because you had a great track record, and then your book came and it was a great book and it came perfectly, but you're still 5 months late, and I'm like, I don't know how I should anticipate now, because I get that shit happens, but like you also stated enough that you were ahead. Like, so like you can't be ahead 3 months and then you're late by 5. It doesn't work that way. Like,
the maths ain't mathing.
and so but like this is where I'm confused now, because I thought that track records were clear, and apparently I don't think they are. In which that, because I've noticed a bunch of people who had good track records have had problems, and I've noticed a bunch of people who supposedly had bad track records get me their books quickly, and I'm like, what switched? And so like this is a problem. How do I properly adjudicate and take gambles and take specs? And the problem isn't the quality of the book, it's just getting me your book. And I'm wondering, is it that somebody just is dipping into the cookie jar with their money? Is it that there's an emergency? Is it that they thought they were ahead, but their artist wasn't coloring their book? I mean, these and they didn't want to publicly announce it, like, or is it that they just didn't get their book to the printer, or the printer somehow fucked up? Because that could all happen. But there's like,
but if it's stuff like that, like like for example, like when Nightwolf issue 7 came out, and the printer jacked that order up twice before getting me the actual books the third time, which even then I was still kind of like, okay, I have enough to just do this. I'm not doing it again.
So like I mean, that's just me, in which that like I don't know how to properly analyze and figure out, okay, who's good and who's bad now, because a lot of shit has changed. And I'm curious how you feel about that, because I thought people who were great are not so great, and I thought people who were shitty are doing a better job. And now, like, I'm questioning my judgment on this and who to trust in comics, to be honest.
I mean, I know of a couple people who are late on things. Their books are great looking. Their stories are usually pretty good. Again, I'm not like up their butts trying to figure out where it is, because I'm not paying attention to any of those. I think it's the ones who then like the one, like if they're not launching another campaign, or if they don't have things on their website and they're just like, hey, we have all these issues we're trying to get through, within like reason, if it's reasonable, I'm like, okay, that's cool, you have my leeway. But if, like you said, if it's on their website, or they're launching another campaign before they fulfill
that's an issue.
Yeah, those are red flags to me.
That's a whole separate issue. I'll be real honest. I don't care who the fuck I offend on this. Is that if you are launching, whether it's through your direct line or several other lines, or if you have 4 Kickstarter accounts and you are running anywhere from 7 to 10 titles a month, and there are companies who are doing this, and you're still not fulfilling Title 1, I mean, no offense to Kickstarter, but I think that's fucked up.
Yeah, there definitely should be checks and balances when it comes to that. I feel like if you have a good track record and they let you do like 2 or 3, like, as long as you're fulfilling them shortly one after another, and keeping it kind of steady. But again, there needs to be some kind of checks and balances.
I think 3's a lot. I genuinely think 3's a lot, and I'll tell you why. Because if you say, let's say we go from 5, go up to 5, what starts happening is that it can become a Ponzi scheme or a pyramid scheme real quick. Because A pays for B pays for C, and then the thing gets out of control. And if people don't realize it can happen in a business, it could happen in my business for all I know, because you're rolling money over and over and over again, and then the money stops. But now you have all this shit that has to get fulfilled, and if you don't think it can't happen, as you get bigger and bigger and bigger, without a doubt. I think 3 is a lot.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because who's Kickstarter's client? Is it you or me?
True.
Yeah, you're Kickstarter's client. I'm your client.
Yeah.
On eBay, eBay is I'm a client to eBay as a seller. My client is a client to me who has protections from eBay. So a buyer is not a client to eBay.
Right.
They have protections, they have rights, they have privileges, but they are technically not a client to eBay. They are a client to me. Now, eBay puts parameters on them, and so I am not a client of Kickstarter. I'm a user of it, but I'm a client to you if I back your Kickstarter.
Right.
And so that's why I think it's crazy, and I don't really care who I offend. And I think that if you're running 4 or 5 different accounts with different companies, I think that all should be accounted for, and maybe you should be granted 2 or 3 per account. But it should also be noted that, wait a second, you haven't fulfilled these 9 campaigns that you have fundraised or kickstarted for, and where the fuck are they? And I think there should be checks, and I think it's a consumer protection issue.
Oh,
because,
yeah.
And I'm going to be real honest. It's coming. It's coming. If Kickstarter doesn't solve the issue, Congress at some point will step in. It's coming. Without a doubt. And it's not going to come under the next 4 years. It's not. But it will.
What's weird, too, is like they typically, like these people who are doing it with the different accounts have to set up different bank accounts and have different social security numbers to be able to do this. So it amazes me like how they have that many people who are willing to like put their their socials in there and then use all these bank accounts, like, you know what I mean, like, to be able to do it this way.
I mean, I'm not saying I'm not anti-business, but I think that there's got to be a limit, and I think there has to be a check, because again, this is going to become and it can blow up, because I run a business that nearly did that. And this is just me as an individual. So I know how this ends. I know exactly how it ends. And I don't really care if people get upset with me when I say that. And I have no problem naming names. And I like a lot of the people who do this because I think they produce good work. But I also think they need to be checked a little bit. Like Fund My Comic by Luke Stone, I think you can only run 2. So if one's open, you can run another one. And then when one of those closes, you could run another one. And I think that's a good check, because I think that yes, it slows things down. And I understand that if you're exceptional, right, and you're the not the norm, I get it. But at the same time, I think things have to be brought in check. I think maybe 3 or 4 might be better for Fund My Comic, but not 9 across multiple accounts.
I think too, like, a lot of them are like, for me, like, I like to have my books done before I go live. I don't like to have that waiting over my head. Where they just get the covers and like 1 or 2 example pages, and then like you're waiting on them to make the book well after the fact. And then, like you said though, like what if like the artist hasn't like colored, or what if like they get sick or whatever, and then the book, like you said, is delayed like forever. Like that's kind of where you run that risk.
There was a campaign that the person didn't start doing the artwork until they were fully funded on Kickstarter. They had I thought that was a fuck you to me.
Yeah, that's weird to me. That like,
why. Let me ask you this, right? If you say I'm going to go pay for 6 pages, fully colored, and I'm going to pump in $1,200 of my own money before I raised a dime on Kickstarter, you have not put skin in the game, right? Yeah. And now you have a right to ask me for money. Until you put skin in the game, I don't think you have a right to ask for money. Morally and ethically.
Morally, yeah. Well, and that again, that's why I put skin in the game, all 24 pages and all the covers. Like, I get that all done and ready before we go live. Like, that's what I mean. Like, I'm just like, look, this book's ready to go. We're just paying for the printing. Let's go.
I mean, I have skin in the game on this show. My StreamYard isn't free. It's $45 a month. it's skin in the game. And I'm not charging for interviews at all, but there's skin in the game. So if you show up, I mean, I am paying for this platform. My guest doesn't pay for the platform. They don't contribute. Yeah, I might have a sponsor every once in a while. That helps. But again, I have real skin in this game. And I've had skin in this game for 10 years. So at a certain point, that bugs me. And I understand that my ideas may or may not agree with everybody here. And I'm fine with that. But I think you should have skin in the game.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like that's a no-brainer right there. Like that should be, you should have a bare, like I said, I'm the one that's going to have it done, but bare minimum you should definitely have a good portion done and still working. Like they should be continuing on working whether you're funded or not.
I mean I'm more generous than you. I think if you have a 30-page book and you have 10 pages done or even 8 pages done, I'm fine with 8 pages done. Because guess what? You just spent $1,000, give or take. Okay. And if you have a cover, great. You spent $1,000. That means that, and that tells me you're serious. And this is a check, right? If you don't have 8 pages done of your book, and look, I'm not saying they all have to be colored or anything like that, but you know, you got to have them drawn. I mean,
yeah, that's a big first step.
I maybe I'm an elitist here when I say that. But I think, you know, there's got to be fair positions. And then like when somebody like that campaign, I was like, what the fuck? I was like, I'm not backing this. This goes completely against my ethics. And I don't know if it's good or bad. like, how the fuck am I supposed to know if your project is good? Like, there's no pictures. It irked me.
Yeah, I think the people who don't have like preview pages of like the book inside, I think that's a bit ridiculous, and that people need to kind of like open up their eyes on that one. Be like, listen, if they just have covers and they don't have pages, you should probably not back it. And I'm sorry for anybody out there who does that. I'm just saying, have preview pages.
I mean, I just heard a new term, and it's perfect. If you fuck around out of 10, you're gonna find out out of 10. It's my new favorite thing I've ever heard in my life because it's so ridiculous. And when I heard it, I just laughed for 20 minutes straight because I never heard that statement before. If you fuck around out of 10, you're gonna find out out of 10. I thought it was great because it's so true. That's just how I feel. But I digress. Again, I like a lot of the people who have a lot of campaigns and launch a lot of campaigns, but it's like, get me your fucking book. Like, and I get that it's different titles, but get me your fucking book. Like I've been waiting 5 months, and then I see you launching like 6 campaigns in the process. It's like, get me your fucking book. You know, give up one of the campaigns and get your book done to me and get it to me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I feel, but I digress. You know, but obviously there's a bunch of other stuff I want to talk about with you. I am curious because we touched upon it just now. I have a very pessimistic view on where comics are going for a few reasons. I am having a very hard time selling comic books on eBay right now, where there are less buyers. There's also been a fallout of bad girl art collectively in the market, and a lot of those books have fallen. I am a huge fan of Zenescope, and those books aren't doing well right now for me. They used to. The Zenescope card stuff is doing well, and cards in my store are killing it. And so I have a very, not saying comics are dead, but I think the market has become soft in the investor space. I think the value of comics has taken a hit. And I have a few reasons why I think it is that I think that a lot of books are out there. I think it used to be that it was harder to get a Keith Garvey or a Paul Green, and I think it is easier than ever before. I think it used to be that a J. Scott Campbell or an Adam Hughes was hard to get or more exclusive, and now they are a dime a dozen. Now, early Campbell, early Adam Hughes, early Tony Daniels, that stuff is worth money still. And I'm just curious how you feel about this, because I think if you're backing on Kickstarter and you're just reading and you want to collect cool shit and you want awesome books, I think that as a collector, we're in the golden age. I just don't think we're in the golden age of value. And I think that's a problem, because at some point somebody's going to have to unload their collection.
Well, I think the problem is that it's oversaturation at the point of having a really shitty economy. It really, like, yes, people like want nice things, but like if they don't have the money for it, they're like whatever. But like you got people who are like raising prices on even like a 24-page standard issue, like from like 15 to like 20, and I'm like, unless it's a very limited variant cover, like, you know, that it should be 15 as
Define limited.
So for example, with my standard retails, I usually print like 1,000 or two, and I sell them on Kickstarter for 15, but that also includes shipping. That includes like the digital and any like freebies that they get, right? So for me, that's like 15, boom, 24 pages standard. Now, when I do my variants, I'm limiting them from like, so one variant that I sell then for another go up $5, so that's $20 level. That's like a $500 or 500 print run. Then go up another $5 to the $25 level. That's a 400 print run. Keep going up another $5 to 30. That's 300, and then 200 and 100 until you get to basically to 50 or less. And then so that's how like I gauge my like variant prices. But I feel like also, but when people are charging like 20, like I said, $20 or $25 for just a standard, retail, and then like charging like 40 or 50 for like a variant cover that they're printing the same numbers, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, see, I view limited runs at 100 or less. And so I think if you're printing a 500 print run, yeah, it's limited to 500, but again, it doesn't pique my interest. I also think though that if you're buying on Kickstarter, I expect those books to be low quantities to some degree. I'm not saying that there's nothing wrong with printing 1,000. God bless you. Hell, you could print 3,000. Be my guest. I'm not going to tell somebody how to run their business. But this is where I guess have my issues, is that I'm like, how many of this book is out there? And also, somebody has a cover A and they're just running that cover A every fucking time they do an issue. So now I have no idea how many of your cover A is out there. And that's a whole nother problem in its own right.
See, that's again, that's why I treat the cover A. That's my standard retail, right? So for me, that's in comic shops. That's in, I'm taking that to conventions. I print a couple thousand of those because I, want to make sure that I have those for everywhere I go. That's my low ball for people. That's not for the collectors. That's the lowest price that they're going to get for a book, right? Whereas like, I don't go thousands for the variants. That's why I do, like, I have 8 different variant covers, but they go down 100 every time, from starting at 5 and then dwindling down to like 50, when I'm doing, that's how I do mine. I know you don't see it as exclusive, but when I'm once they sell out, they're done. I don't reprint them,
I get it to a degree. It's just like at a certain point, it's just like if there's like 3,000 of a book out there, I'm just like, okay. Yeah,
but then that's the same as like looking at Zenescope or Marvel or Image. Like they have larger numbers and they're charging more for their variants at a retail store. So like, I mean, you take that in comparison to like an indie, like I'm a drop in the bucket to what they're printing.
Zenescope on an exclusive, they will charge $25 for a 250. So like a Paul Green is 250 copies, $25. 125 is 50. And then they charge $100 for a Z-rated, which is a topless
in a store, but not on Kickstarter.
What they charge that prices sometimes on Kickstarters. And then they also do it in their virtual cons, is what they do, and on their website. So I mean, it's not.
Yeah, so they have it everywhere, and instead of just one place.
I mean, but I think they only do like Collector Club on their VCons and at cons. So like that stuff's exclusive, and then it's maybe like every other month on their website for like a day, which is not a big window, all things considering. But not the point. But again, I'm not going to tell you how to run your business. I just think like it's whatever. It's not important. But like that my issue. But I agree. When you said a standard issue for $20 is crazy, because I don't know how you feel. Have you ever bought a book for $20 and it was a piece of shit, for lack of a better word?
Yeah.
And you were like, what the fuck did I just buy? And then, but then you're a nice person. Say, maybe somebody had a bad issue 1. Let's see what issue 2 is. And issue 2 is just as bad.
Usually at that point, I'm like, okay, I'm done.
So we all have friends in comics, right? And sometimes your friends just have a bad book concept, right? And sometimes somebody needs to tell them, dude, I know you just put like $5,000 in your book, but it's not good. And you shouldn't be publishing this. And you got to be nice to your friends and all, but you also have to be like, this isn't good.
Well, I think those ones weed themselves out eventually.
Maybe. But that's where I'm at. So it is what it is.
To say the least.
Yes, absolutely, to say the least. There are a lot of things I could say. There are a lot of things I could say, but again, my whole thing is that, I mean, right now I feel, because I don't disagree that things have become more expensive. I don't disagree. I also do agree that it's more saturated, but I also think that it's like used to be that Keith Garvey was like 4 places, and now anybody who wants a Keith Garvey, you just got to get on his list. And so now that also creates a problem because it's not as valuable. Meaning that I like his artwork sells, but now I have the choice and I have an infinite pool of books that he can work on within an infinite amount of characters. So before he was maybe doing something for Zenescope and then 2 or 3 other comic companies, and now when you're doing Lady Death, Zenescope, a bunch of other people's Kickstarters, like Preston Poulter, I think just had a Keith Garvey, and then there's just a bunch of other people who have a Keith Garvey, and then therefore now it's like, cool, which character do I want to buy Keith Garvey on? And then that creates a problem, not for Keith Garvey, it's work for him, but it's just like, it creates a value issue, and it also creates saying, cool, like, it's now just an issue where it's just like, cool, which do I want? And so like, I think that's part of the problem with comics is that there's no exclusivity. And therefore companies don't have a brand.
I don't think one meshes with the other as much. Exclusivity and brands are 2 completely different things. This is a brand. Exclusivity is saying, I have one of these, you can have it. Only you. That's exclusive.
I mean, the reason why I say that it does mesh a little bit, and I guess this is where my argument is, that there have been artists who have been synonymous with companies for a while, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we look at Ebass, right? Eric Basaluda. Eric Basaluda has had a long relationship with Zenescope, right? And he was there at the beginning. So all of a sudden, if you see an Ebass cover, it's not necessarily automatically Zenescope, but there's a good chance that covers Zenescope, right?
Or
so
Lady Death.
Or Lady Death. So like his name became almost synonymous. Oh, Lady Death. Zenescope be like, wait a second, this is something else? Like, because it was automatically almost assumed, right? So that's where I guess maybe brand is not the right word, and I could walk it back a little bit, almost identity, right? And I
Yeah.
feel that this has become a problem in comics, is that now every artist is everywhere, and now I don't know what companies used to have identities and relationships and like just having artists at the face of them have now like Keith Garvey's everywhere, and that's good for Keith Garvey. But now it's like, and this is where I think this is where it started, is that you, and I know it's an odd argument, but and it's not a bad thing, but it's also companies have had to put all their eggs in one basket.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like the gone are the days of exclusive artists. I think they're now it's like, hey, I got to get fed. You're not paying me enough. Marvel, DC, so they have to go to indies and charge more.
Could be that. Fair enough. I mean, again, I get it.
But I mean, really, like legit, like you get artists who like work their way up the ladder and finally get in with Marvel and DC, but Marvel and DC aren't paying the prices that they're charging indies. You know what I mean? Like, so they're like, oh, well, I work for Marvel and DC, so I'm going to charge you $2,000 for a cover. Like that's like where their head's at.
That's also probably part of the problem too, if you think about it.
Just saying.
I mean, again, it's tricky to figure out though what an artist should charge, right? Because I mean, it's subjective to some degree, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on like it depends on how popular you are, how in demand you are, how many years you've been doing it. Just like with anything, like when you're doing a job interview, right? They ask how many years you have experience doing your job, then you get paid per that salary, right? So I mean, it kind of is the same thing. But if you've been doing it for 2 years and you got lucky to be on one Marvel and one DC, and you think you're going to charge $2,000 for a cover, you can take that $2,000 and shove it.
Is it also the idea that, obviously a lot of people come in and out of DC and Marvel, right? And then, people think that is going to boost their brand, but it's like, great, you worked on 2 years working on a bunch of stuff for Marvel, but then they didn't want to keep you around. And then, maybe there's a reason why they didn't want to keep you around. Maybe you weren't good enough. Maybe you were good for a theme or two or an idea, but like, that's the other thing too, is that I think a lot of people don't know what they're worth or what they're not worth.
I mean, I think it also too is like depends on like how, like I feel like I'm willing to pay more for a great cover by somebody that I like to work with, who's easygoing, who's just really great to work with. Whereas like if I have a bad experience and if you charge way, an excruciating amount like of money like for a cover and it comes out like terrible pinup art and you don't even put like I'm paying you all this and it doesn't like even pay for itself, and you're a pain in the ass to work with, well, you're not getting rehired, and I'll tell everybody that I know that not to hire you. So I think you kind of have to balance being a good artist, a good person, and then having a reasonable price, as long as you're putting like if you're like just pumping them out to get money, then you're not worth the time. You know what I mean? Because you actually have to be able to sell that cover. It has to pay for itself and then some for it to be worth it.
It's true. That is true.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's a cost value. Like to us publishers or indie guys, like we have to, the money we put into it, we got to get more out of it.
I'll throw it this way, right? So every once in a while, I'll ask for an interview, and somebody says I charge for an interview, and you know what is? I mean, it's my philosophy is the following: is that great? What do you bring to the table? And what is your following? How many years, how many interviews have you done? Are you liked? Are you controversial? also, what value are you going to bring to this thing? So somebody is charging $100, but they can make me 1,000 all day. I will pay $100.
Oh yeah.
But also, I'm looking at this, and the person had, and I don't mean to like shame them, but they had 12,000 Instagram followers. And my response to them, I said, "Look, I just don't do that. I'm sorry." And it became a very controversial issue because I put it in a podcast group, and a lot of people were very torn. Where some people were like, "Oh, you should absolutely pay guests," and I said, "You host the podcast. Do you pay your guests?" But it's like, "No." And that was like so, so like what was going on, a bunch of people said, I will pay somebody what they're worth. And if they bring, so like, that's what I think it is sometimes too, is that, somebody might charge or ask 1,200. Well, it's within my nature to negotiate, right? Just by nature, I want to negotiate because I find negotiation a sport. But more importantly, I mean, I love when people counter me on eBay. I love it. It's the most enjoyable thing when you're trying to figure out the price of something. It's a sport and it's a hobby. But beyond that, I'm like, great. I think you're gonna bring in, I think you're worth 900. You're asking 12. Like, I could do 900. Do you want the 900 or not? And also, what it is that, because I still have to produce the book. I still have to do the interior work in the book. I still have to write the book. I still have to print the book. I still have to do other things with the book. I still have to letter the book, logos, all the shit, right? I'm sure I missed a few things in there too. Coloring, right? There's still other shit that has to get done in the book. Your $900 is not just 900 and we're done, So, yeah, I mean, but maybe people forget that. I don't know, but I like to negotiate. I find it a sport. I also can walk away. But like getting back to the point is that the person who was asking $100, I also didn't like the tonality. She said, "Oh, my audience loves when I do interviews, but you want to charge me $100 so that your audience can enjoy me interviewing you." I didn't like the message and the tonality of the message.
No.
And that's why I didn't like the deal, and I didn't take it because I thought it was crazy. Because I'm like, this person is probably going to be a pain in the ass, and if I pay them, they're going to think they're superior. And they're not going to come in. And when people get paid for interviews, 90% of the time they're not good guests.
No, yeah, they're just there for the money,
and that's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So versus they should be there for more than just the money. They should be there for double time the money.
Well, I mean, if they're coming on, really, like most often, it's like they should be promoting something, right? So they should want to go on and promote stuff. Like, it just, yeah, I feel like if they think that their time is worth something more than nothing, they're not worth it.
I took it a little bit different. I took it to the point where you think your time is worth $100 for an hour. Okay, I don't make $100 an hour at my job, and I'm good at my job, and that's pre-tax, right? So once you calculate tax in there, I mean, it's way less than that, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Then what happens is that I'm still going to be working on your interview for an hour to 2 hours. So we have to factor that in. So now we're talking about 3 hours of my time, an hour worth of your time. I'm going to have to promote the living shit out of it. So that's got to be worth like 30 minutes. So now we are at 3.5 hours. I got to build graphics. And then at some point, I'm going to have to cut up the puppy to get the micro content, get the reels, get the TikToks, get all that shit out. So we're talking 6-7 hours worth of work plus your hour that I'm paying you for. This makes no economic sense. Versus when somebody buys a cover, I now have a piece of art that I could sell.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I think people don't realize, and I think sometimes artists and cover artists maybe don't realize that, hey, look, this person also needs to make money, and there needs to be meat on the bone.
Yeah. I mean, that's just it. Like, sometimes you just have to like realize like, hey, that's when you look at the price of the cover, you're like, you're not going to bring me enough to pay for this. So goodbye.
Did you also feel, and I'm curious, and this is controversial, that somebody might pay more for a cover from an artist who has a name to get name and get credibility? Because I'll be honest, I mean, if I was to do a first cover issue trying to break in, and I could get like a Paul Green or a Jamie Tyndall or an Elias Chazudis or a Keith Garvey or something like that, or a Sun Kumanaki, and hopefully these people aren't going to mind me mentioning their names, but it could go a long way, especially if you're launching a first issue.
If you're launching a first issue, yes. Because first issues, most people will come just because it's a first. But when you're in later issues, you kind of have to be a little bit careful too, because if you have somebody who has a name and you charge so much, yes, you'll get a few of their audience members just to buy that one because it's them. But you also have to they probably are like, oh, we're not going to go and get all of these issues, just to get into the series. You know what I mean? So in the long run, is it really helping you if they're only buying for their cover rather than going and getting a whole set? Because really, I would prefer long-term readers who come each time and get either the books or like some new backer comes in. I want them to come in, get the set, enjoy the books, and then say, oh, I like this cover, I think I'm going to grab that one the next time, which has been a lot. When I go to like cons, people come back and say, oh, I didn't get this cover last time, I'm going to get this cover and then the latest issue. You know what I mean? So like that's some nice things about curating art, as well as sometimes with a name, it may matter just as out of conversation, but 9 times out of 10 they're probably not going to get it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Again, I don't know, and this is definitely not quote unquote my forte.
I mean, it's like a chess game. It really is. Like when you're selecting artists and for covers and then coming up with the ideas for I mean, it's like playing chess. You really have to play the right pieces and put them in the right positions, and to be able to have the return on it, to be able to have a decent campaign.
I can imagine it again. This just seems so fucking tough, and this is why I just buy and sell comics, right? And I buy and sell cards because it's so much easier to not have to do all that. And I just have a feel, and I understand. Okay, cool. This artist is right now really popular, or this cover concept is really popular. Mm-hmm. Right now, the most popular cover concept is the Akira variants. I mean, if you've seen the Red Sonja one, it's really, really funny. So instead of a motorcycle, she has her horse.
Yeah,
it's ridiculously stupid, and it's ridiculously funny because it is funny. So I think it's funny. Maybe other people don't, but I think it's great. I think the Batman thing they did was great. I think the Joker version of that was great. I think that stuff's funny, but it's just again. I mean, I think this is tough, and it's not for me. So there you go.
Yeah, Kickstarter crowdfunding in general is not for the faint of heart.
I agree. It just seems so fucking tough, and that's how I feel. Maybe it's not as tough as I think. I would know my campaign was rough as fuck. That was bad.
I mean, again, I think like starting out, you kind of have to take it on the chin, or build yourself up. What's really it's funny too, because when you do a new thing, you go from you finally built up this one thing, right? And then you do the new thing, and the new thing's down a lot lower. You have to remember that you're starting over again. So it's almost like a gut punch, but then you're like, okay, relax.
Oh man, it's not easy. It's not easy. None of this is easy. But again, it is what it is. But anyway, beyond that, I mean, I am curious where you think comics are going because obviously I have my opinions. I think the whole thing is all fucked up. And
Especially with Diamond going declaring bankruptcy, I
I
think.
wasn't even talking about that. I mean let's talk about Diamond. What is your thoughts on Diamond? Because I don't know what to think. This is like the one time I don't know what to think.
I think so. It's kind of a mixed.
Let me before you speak in. Sorry to interrupt. I hate when people are fucking shitting on it because that's the stupidest response. Because why would you beat up a company that is distributing to your local comic shop a bunch of books? That's just dumb. That is like cutting off your own arm and saying, why am I bleeding? But
Fair.
anyway, I just want to get that out of the way because that's my only issue is that why is everybody cheering that Diamond's declaring bankruptcy? That I don't get, but you can continue.
I think Diamond could have been run better. It was definitely harder. It's hard to get into, especially from an indie standpoint. So it was kind of like gatekeeping in a way. However, I do think at this point it was the only game in, like that was letting indies get into this, besides doing it themselves, getting into the retails. Whereas like Lunar and Penguin or whoever the other distributors are only taking a select few of high end clients and not the indies. So now watching this ship sink, it's at the point where it's like, well, now you're just gonna have to figure out and it didn't affect me because one, I wasn't in Diamond. Was I planning to? Maybe eventually. But at this point I'm like, well, I'll just keep doing what I've been doing, crowdfunding and selling myself. Which, I think in and of itself, I feel like it's great to have crowdfunding, but I think it's oversaturated. It's great to but like when we have our own websites, right? Like I have my own website, but I still I do gangbusters on Kickstarter, but my website's like, trickles in here and there. I think you would think it would be the other way around because, like people pay a little bit more for Kickstarters than they do like just, the retail prices.
So, let me ask you this because I have a theory, right? And I like the concept of event-based sales.
Mm-hmm.
So you have an event and then you make a sale around your event, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I actually and me and Mike, Mike Tiener was talking about this from Bad Bug. And I said, I think the future of indie comics is Kickstarters, crowdfunding. I think it's then convention sales, and then I think it's event sales. So you're doing something that's an event related to your book, and then you're selling it. And so I think that's really where I think collectively things are going to go that way.
I mean, it's already there. I mean, that's how
it's going to explode is my point.
Well, I think that conventions need to come down on their prices before that's going to be the case. Because they keep raising their tables every year and nobody's going to make any money going to them if they keep the way they're going because they're too busy paying for celebrities to pay, for people to go in and pay, $200 for Jason Momoa and not, $5 for a comic.
I could see that too. In which that, I mean, it's the guarantees and it's a nightmare and it's a problem. And also the people who are going to go buy a Jason Momoa or a Henry Cavill or Ben Affleck or Gal Gadot or, the WWE superstars, wherever it is, they're there for that. And then also what people forget is that when you buy a ticket for $90 or $100, that's also a problem.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. And when you're a vendor or an artist paying, over $500 plus for a table, you're already that far in the hole. That's plus then you have to worry about travel. You got to worry about a hotel. You got to worry about food.
Yeah, again. I asked the question in which the people say, how much money do you really make from going to a convention? And before I asked the question, how much did you work that con hourly? And I asked the question because again, I don't go to a convention and I have my Saturday to myself. What is that Saturday worth? And then I ask another question, right? And I ask the important question is that do you have a day job and did you have to use a sick day or a vacation day? And what is that worth? Because guess what? If you only have 10 of those, and you want to go to Disney World or you want to do something else, well, you know what is you got to be at that con on your Friday and you got to be there, or you might have to take a half a day on Thursday to set up, all of a sudden, that could be expensive. You got paid for it nonetheless, but what is that worth?
Yeah, that all adds up. I mean, that's something you have to take in consideration too. Yeah, I mean, again, it's I mean, you're working your butt off, and some ones are bigger winners, sometimes they're not. Most often, I find that more often I'm breaking even for the whole trip, or I make a little bit. But I'm paying for 2 tables because I have such a large setup, and I treat it more as a marketing than I do for actual revenue, because I'm spreading outside of my normal areas, because I try to I will go back to like another con. If I've been somewhere, I try to go like every 2 years, but I try to hit up new ones all the time to kind of open up my audience, because again, I don't have distribution through Diamond. So that is my distribution, is introducing to new people who will then later come and feed the Kickstarter, or who will come to my website, or whatever.
Fair enough. I mean, I get it. Again, though, no, I asked these questions and I asked them on a philosophical level, because you got to know what you're spending on and what the cost is and what it isn't. And because unless, because then if you don't know that cost, you got to figure it out. Otherwise, you're not running a successful, healthy business. Doesn't mean your business can't be healthy, but you have to know your costs. Mm-hmm. Now, I mean, there's a bunch of things people have to know: your customer acquisition cost, your customer retention cost. Now, I'll be honest, I don't know my customer acquisition cost on eBay. I don't know it because I'm on eBay, right? Mm-hmm. So it's hard to figure out what it costs sometimes to acquire a customer in certain circumstances. But I do know what it costs to retain a customer. I do also know that my customer acquisition cost is rooted somewhere in eBay's fees. What percentage of that 13%, I don't know. But eBay charges 13% on payment processing and their platform fee. So that is part of my customer acquisition cost, because I'm reaching all over the world and I've sold all over the world. So I have clients in Australia, I have clients in the UK, and I have a client in Saudi Arabia, which is crazy. It's funny because he bought a woman UFC fighters card and he's in Saudi Arabia, which is an oxymoron in and of itself. I don't know how that card got legally sent there. But anyway, I thought it was pretty funny. I never sent a card to the Middle East before last year, and when I did, I was ecstatic because I didn't think that I was even allowed to ship to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, I've shipped to some weird places through Kickstarters and stuff, and I'm like, huh, I'm like, that happened.
I didn't know I was legally allowed to ship to Saudi Arabia on eBay until it happened. And I was ecstatic, and the person was thrilled, and I was thrilled. They spent like $6 for a card and $20 for shipping.
I mean, yeah, that sounds about right when it comes to comics too. Like I said, it's 27. Like a single issue to Europe is $27.
Person was happy though because the Tops, I don't think, would have sent it to him.
Probably not now.
And so the guy or girl, I don't know, because names are hard, right?
Right. Well, that if they're using a username.
I had his or her name, but like it's Arabic, so I didn't. It was like spelled in English, but like I don't know enough about the name to make an assumption here. But the idea is, I was ecstatic, and I said, "Dude, I'm so excited! Like to be shipping to your country. I've never done that before." And the guy's like, "Oh yeah, nobody else would ship to my country, so thank you." And like that
Well,
was our
hopefully it made it.
it did make it. He or she left good feedback, so it made it. Prison was thrilled, but I'm like, Prison's like, a lot of other people wouldn't have shipped here. I'm like, I didn't know I was legally allowed to ship here, and that was like the whole conversation. And like, I'm sure eBay, when they saw that message, thought it was funny too, because I thought it was funny. So, but again, that's that. But I don't know what's gonna happen with Diamond. I'm not happy about Diamond failing, because I don't want companies to fail. As an entrepreneur and as somebody who runs a business, I'm not thrilled when businesses fail. I don't think it's good.
Bad sign.
What did you say?
It's a bad sign.
It's a bad sign. It's also a bad sign that RV sales are down. when RV sales are down, that's when the economy is in bad shape.
I've been saying, how many episodes I've been on and I've been saying it.
That RV sales being down?
No, about the economy.
RV sales have been down since 2022.
Sounds about right.
And so it's and I don't think it's going to get better. I was speaking to John Westhoff, who left a comment in this section, and I was speaking to him, I think yesterday or on Tuesday, and I said, hey, get a life jacket, everybody, get a life jacket. The president of the United States is not going to fix the economy.
At this point, something's got to happen. whether it's a full-on tank or something.
What will fix the economy is it will naturally fix itself. It will naturally fix itself, because the economy goes through cycles.
Mm-hmm.
And it just so happens, and it will be fixed under Trump, whether you like it or you don't. But it's not going to be fixed by Trump. It's not going to be hurt by Trump either, per se. I just think it's going to naturally turn itself around in 6 to 12 months. And then it's going to slowly gear up, and then in his third year, it's going to take off like a rocket. That's exactly what's going to happen, and we're going to be on another 8 to 9 year bull run, in which that's the cycle. It could happen sooner or slower, but it's coming. So if you could hold on for 2.5 years, you're going to be just fine.
Fingers crossed.
Everything when it's on sale right now. The last time this happened, all I know is it was COVID and like the market, and I watched legitly like $35,000 of my money disappear in a week, and I had money in cash, and I bought more stuff, and I came out looking like a golden rose, clean as a whistle, all pretty daisied up, and it was amazing. It was amazing. And I told everybody to do it, and nobody believed me. and I was very upset. It was almost as bad as my Bitcoin experience. I buy Bitcoin at like 16,000. Oh no, nobody listened to me then either. and I didn't listen to myself shorting First Republic Bank. That was a mistake on me. We can't all be perfect.
You win some, you lose some.
My track record's pretty good, but that First Republic Bank, oh my God, should have borrowed like $10 million. Oh my God, I would not be here. I would be in Hawaii on a beach. But that's also a bad idea, because they have volcanoes there and they have tsunamis every once in a while. That'd probably be a bad idea. Maybe California is a bad idea too. I would be in Vermont. Nothing bad happens in Vermont, because nobody's in Vermont. Therefore, nothing bad could happen. I would be in Vermont. I'd be in like a little cabin all by myself, and nothing bad would happen. Vermont's a small little place, and there's like nobody in Vermont. And everybody, when you see another person, they're like, "You're another person? Oh my god, this is amazing!" It's like Wyoming all over again. Nobody's in Wyoming. It's fantastic.
Wyoming's just a little bit bigger.
Just a little bit. Just buy a ranch in Wyoming. Oh my god. It's like RuPaul. I think RuPaul's in Utah or Wyoming. RuPaul's husband is a rancher.
That's so random.
It's so important. And then RuPaul talks about how RuPaul is all fashion iconed out. And I love RuPaul. And then RuPaul's like, nobody's around to see my outfit. This is what RuPaul said on Stephen Colbert. And it was one of the funniest things I've ever heard in my life because it's true. Which leads me to my point about Diamond. I think we need to get RuPaul running Diamond. See. I think this is my best idea yet. But that's whatever. But again, that's my random tangent for the day. RuPaul the Rancher. If that's not a comic book, I don't know what is.
Right, yeah.
I could sell that.
It almost read itself.
I could sell that shit better than I could sell cattle. I really think that forever. But beyond Diamond, where do you think the industry is going for real though? Because obviously, I don't know what the fuck's going to happen. A lot of people are owed money by Diamond, and it's going to be a rough position. And I don't know what's going to happen with Diamond, but it's not good. And
yeah, I mean, I think a lot of like comic shops are going to be hurting as far as like whatever, indie titles that aren't in the other distributors. I mean, they'll obviously they'll still do their Marvels and their DCs and their Images and whatnot. But if they had anything else that their clientele were, requesting, it's going to be harder. They don't want to do, go too directly to these publishers because that's more invoicing that they have to figure out, But it's kind of funny too because it's the only industry that has where it's one place where they order stuff or two places, where at most retail places they have multiple vendors that they have to deal with. So I think it's funny that they don't want to deal with all the same thing that any other retail store has to deal with.
I mean, back in the day in the 90s, wasn't there 6 or 8 vendors who were doing comics and stuff?
As far as mostly Diamond.
I remember. I think I was speaking to Ricky Caltorino or Calca something who did Double Impact before he sold it. And back in the day, I think he was saying there was 6 or 8 or 9 different distributors distributing out a lot of comics, and then Diamond slowly put a lot of them out of business.
Well, I would imagine in the 70s and 80s, because the 90s it was primarily Diamond at that point.
Again. I mean, it's been a while since I spoke to Ricky about that. But I mean, he said on my interview, but it's been a while, so I could be mistaken too. But maybe late 80s. I don't know. But
yeah, I mean that does track.
So again. But it's going to be interesting. I would love to see 6 distributors in comics. I think.
I mean, honestly, if they go back to the multi distributor thing, I think then it would kind of even itself out and be finer because then they could be competitive on pricing. Honestly, it'd be way better than having a monopoly on it. But the problem is it's going to take somebody to actually take the initiative and open these up, but who has the money and time to do that, or even the knowledge. So, I mean, unless you have somebody who's already a sales rep or, somebody who knows distribution, several people to take that on, but I doubt, this time, this period, nobody's going to do that. So it'll probably be crowdfunding is mostly going to be where the indies will lie. So it'll probably get, I think larger indie publishers will flood the market. Some of the smaller ones that were just coming out unless they have a good product, will probably eventually be weeded out. And then the rest of us who are in the middle will kind of just keep floating.
do you feel that I had this conversation with a cosplayer. So, and we were talking about this on Tuesday, is that you don't anymore as a cosplayer, especially in the upper echelons of rising up, you need to be a damn good marketer. And so I don't know if you even need to have a good comic anymore. I think you need to be a fantastic marketer more so than anything else. I mean, at some point you do need a good product.
Well, I was gonna say you could be the best marketer, but like that's like that one of those cases, you fool me once, fool me twice situation. You know what I mean? Like,
so I'll put it this way, right? I think if you have an above average comic, right, and you're a fucking awesome marketer, I think you can make a good chunk of money, because if you're, but you don't need to have a fantastic comic anymore. Meaning that, you know, WWE for a while now has been having a great product, right? But, you know, for a while, their product was average, but they were marketing it pretty decent, right? So I think, but now they're marketing their product great and they have a great product. But I think if you have an above average product, but you're good at marketing it, or you're good at drawing attention, or figuring out creative ways how to get people involved, you know, I think that that's also going to be a big factor, because that could be the difference between you surviving until things improve. And
that's just it. Like, you know, that's why, you know, we do what we do. Like, why we come and hang out with you and other.
So I'm a consolation prize. Exactly, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. But my point is like, you know, why we go on to these shows, why we go on, like, you see me blasting on social media. If it wasn't for my comics, you probably would never even know I existed on social media, because I wouldn't have it. You know, it is, you know, I'm marketing myself as much as I'm marketing my book, because that's what we have to do now. We can't just market the book, right? You have to you have to be there. You have to show that you're a real person, you know, that you got to be out there. You know, I didn't build my wolf pack just by hiding behind the comic, right? I'm here, I'm talking, I'm, you know, showing people that I exist.
I am synonymous with my show. I am synonymous with how I approach things. My business is synonymous with me. You cannot separate me and the podcast and my business away from each other. It is physically impossible to do that. You can separate me away from my job. That could be separated to a degree. My shoot job. But you cannot separate how I pack up a comic book in my eBay business, because I take a lot of pride and care. Much like with this show, I take a lot of pride and care in it. Now, it doesn't always happen and it doesn't always work, because people have bad days, people have problems, sometimes I'm sick, right? But I still try to push it. And sometimes you just have a bad interview and shit happens. But at the same time, you know, I'm synonymous with it. So whatever you get on this show is how I'm going to be in real life. This is me completely. And how I think, and I make funny statements that people think are crazy. But it's what I think, and it's how I speak. And I think, you know, that's important. And, you know, there's a reason why I have X amount of subscribers, and I've been around long enough. It's because people know exactly what they're going to get with me.
Yeah. I mean, and really, if you think about it, if you look back, like, you know, during COVID, like, how many of these shows popped up? How many are still around? Not that many.
Want to hear something crazy? Sure. There was somebody I interviewed. They launched the show a week after, and then they didn't do it, and then they came back around and they tried to relaunch it like 18 months later, and then they lasted 6 more episodes, and then they died. The average podcast length is 6 episodes. It's 6 episodes. Most podcasts don't make it to episode 7. If you make it to episode 7, you have a 25% chance of making it to episode 50. If you make it to episode 50, you have like a 75% chance of making it to episode 100. And then once you get past 100, you probably are going to continue that podcast for at least another 50 to 100 episodes. Your statistics continuously go up the further you go.
Oh, yeah. The more you do it, the more comfortable you get with it, and the more you get, that becomes like a big part of you.
It's the idea, though, that 6 episodes is the average podcast where it dies on episode 6 or 7 in that period, because the gratification is not there and it is brutal and you're gaining no traction. Someone says this is horrible. It's 6 episodes. That is horrifying. Imagine if we do that with a comic book. 6 issues? I mean, 6 issues is 2 years.
That's a pretty long mini series.
Fair enough. So the equivalent would be what, like 2 issues in a comic?
Yeah. If you drop the ball after 2 and you have planned to go on, you're.
But but that's my point, is that 6 episodes is 6 weeks if you're doing a weekly show. That is a snap of my fingers. So it's wild. I used to do this lecture at conventions. Had a podcast in anime, and it was a technical thing, and it was a good panel to do, and I enjoy it. But like 6 episodes is what it is. Most shows die at 6 episodes. It's ludicrous. Because it's crazy. That's why what I encourage people to do if you're on a podcast, and this is another PSA, is do 6 episodes before you even release anything. This way, you're statistically more likely to succeed.
And it gives you time to work on more.
Exactly. This way, you got your 6 episodes out of the way. And then before you release episode 6, do episode 7. And congratulations, your statistics go up to like 25% from like 7%. So I just increased your odds, everybody. You're welcome. Because you're not dealing with the negativity of not having any traction because you have episodes already done. So, but I digress. But we've been speaking for a while, and I do want to give you a chance to promote yourself. So where could people find you, bother you, buy a plushie or your book or a kid's book, or go on backer kit, or C and A and B is for Cthulhu, but Cthulhu starts with a C. Or you can spell Cthulhu with a K if you really want to. I'm not going to tell somebody not to. I think Cthulhu with a K would be a great book.
Cthulhu's brother Cthulhu.
I think Cthulhu with a K would be great. But if there was ever a mini print to do, there you go, everybody. Cthulhu with a K, not a C. But anyway, all jokes aside, where could people find you? Where could people obviously find the campaign? Where could people find, the Cthulhu with a C? C is for Cthulhu, or Cthulhu with a C, not a K, but a C. C like Cookie Monster, because I love Cookie Monster. Where can people basically back your campaign before I completely crash it?
Yeah, so you can find me at Lone Wolf Comics on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You could also find me at Rob Multari. LoneWolfComics.com is my website. If you go to WolfpackPups.com, that'll take you to the Wolfpack Pups kids stuff. The campaign, the short link is snowpod.wolfpackpups.com, but there's a very long backer kit link that I'm not going to recite. And but yeah, it will redirect you to that. It's in the description. It's in the description. And so then that'll take you to the backer kit page where you can get yourself the book. You can get yourself one of these, great plushes. We're funding this one here, so please back so that we can bring this girl to life. And you can also get the trades as well there, so you can get. So this is the Nightwolf Volume 1, and you can get Volume 2 there. Nightwolf number 9, you can get Snowpaw 1 through 3. You can get all kinds of great stuff through this campaign. And go check it out.
Yeah, and then obviously I'm just going to keep going and letting people know that obviously you should back people's campaigns. It goes a long way. Whether you're doing $1 or $20 or 15 or whatever the lowest denomination is, you should back people's projects because it does help. It does go a long way. It does mean something, and it's helpful for a lot of people. And then furthermore, obviously you should follow people on social media. You should be supporting them there. And then if you'll do crossovers, you should be backing that stuff too if you can afford it. And and all that stuff because it helps. And then outside of that, obviously it's my show, so I'm going to promote myself. I am on Twitter/X under Pop Anime Comics. I am on Pop Anime Comics on Instagram. I am Pop Anime Comics on the Facebook. I am Pop Anime Comics on TikTok. I am not sure if that's still active or not. I mean, I know my account is not deactivated, but who knows what's going on with TikTok. But I am Pop Anime Comics on the YouTube. That I know is still active. So you can go support me there. I do run as well a card collecting YouTube channel where I break open cards, and I did just pull one of these right here. So this is pretty sweet. It is this card. I actually have a better picture of it. Just a lesser version. That is the 1 out of 99 of it. This is the number 49. So it's blue. It's rarer than this one. And I did just break that before I went live with you, so you all can see my reaction when I opened it up. It's a cool card. It's from Rickwood, which is a Negro League stadium in Birmingham, Alabama. So pretty cool MLB card. Pretty cool about history. And I'm pretty happy with it. So what's cool about this is that the base is dirty. It's a game used base, guys. So some MLB player decided to put his cleat on it while running around the base. So it's all dirty, and I love it. Because that's the type of dirt you want on your cards. I mean, I'm just saying that it's pretty cool having a game used base in a baseball card. But I digress. But I do run an eBay store. So look for comics and collectibles. Come shop with us on eBay at Pop Anime Comics Collectibles, and I sell stuff like that. So I do have one of these left in my store that's still sealed. I have some Aaron Judge stuff in my store of game use based stuff. I got a lot of cool cards. Stuff like this is in my store, which is super expensive. Yes, I carry WNBA cards. So they make me bank, and the WNBA is fun to watch, guys. It's fun to watch. But all jokes aside, and then I carry a lot of comics and stuff of that nature. So if you're looking for comics, collectibles, cards, and rare stuff like that, I carry everything from $8 cards to $500 cards, and then some. So I got something for everybody, and I'm really gearing up. And the fun products in my store right now are the WWE stuff, because Topps has the license for it, and I'm super excited for it. So a lot of cool stuff's coming, everybody. A lot of cool stuff is coming with wrestling, and it's going to be a good one. And so I'm super excited for all that. But again, I got you covered if you're looking for stuff. And if it's not in my store, ask me. And if I don't have it, chances are I know somebody who does. So that's everything that I got going on. And I'm going to give you the final word.
Yeah. Once again, please check out Wolfpack Pups and the Snowpaw plushie. Go to snowpaw.com or snowpaw.wolfpackpups.com and back the project. Thank you.
And I don't think I could have said that any better myself, buddy. And that is a